Hi, I'm Bill Denny of WordTricks. Welcome to another training video for the Umbu product in the 100 series. This is module 102, Document Generators. Let's switch to the Umbu ribbon. Let's first look at the letter generator. It's very typical of most of the text generators. So I'm going to click on Letter Generator, and I'll notice that I have a dialog box that allows me to enter an author, date, addressee, things like that. In this case, I'm going to use an addressee from the history of previously generated letters. So I fill in this information and I select a template. All of these features, like letter, memo, fax, use a template and then automate that information into the template so that you have consistent letters, for example, throughout the firm. In this case, I'm also going to include via FedEx and switch locations to the Atlanta location. And then I'll click OK, and it generates my letter. Now it's ready for me to insert the body of the letter, which I'm just going to put some fake text in there. And in this case, it's generated the second page of the letter, and I can see that second page header that was automatically generated when the letter was created. Now I'm ready to insert a signature block. I go back to my Umbu ribbon, and I notice there's a section over here for signature blocks. I can have that also generated at the time of the letter. In this case, I'm not going to, but now I'm going to generate the signature block after the fact. I simply insert where I want mine. I simply put my insertion point where I want the letter signature block, and I select the letter signature, which can be multiple signatures. You might have a separate one for pleadings example, and I click OK. Similar to the letter are the memo and fax. Again, they use a dialog that is tied to a specific template. So I can select an author. In this case, I'm going to switch authors, and I'll see that I get a different list of templates. So for each author, you can have a preference of templates. In this case, I'm going to do a general memorandum, and I see that the dialog changes based on the differences between those templates. And I can, again, type in who I want this to go to, but to save typing, I'm going to go down to the history mechanism and scroll back to a previously generated fax. So it fills this information in, and then I click OK. It generates that memo, and I'm ready to type the information in the memo. The fax cover is very similar. It too presents a dialog box where I can choose a template. In this case, there's only one template, and I can choose a location and have the sending person's voice number, fax number, date, number of pages, etc. Again, using the history. I can see that this pulls up the person that this was sent to. This history works a little different from the others in that it includes in the history the person it was sent from to and the number of pages and things like that. So it holds a little bit more information than the other two. And in this case, again, I'm going to change that author back to my authorship, and I'll see that it might have a different list of templates, and I'm going to change it again to the Atlanta office. Click OK. And it generates that fax cover sheet. As you can see, this fax cover sheet has a firm name in it, which implies that each of these templates can be customized, but they can also have information like address that automatically generates when the template generates. The last item in this section is envelopes, labels, addresses. This is a bit different from the others. When I click this, I see that I have a tabbed dialog box. And this first tab is for templates like envelopes, labels, and some forms. When I click on these various segments, I see the different templates for them. In envelopes, I can see I have a standard number 10, and I have a firm number 10. And I can have multiple ones with different formatting. The firm number 10 typically has the firm address information included. So I'm going to click OK to generate this envelope. And in this case, I can see that it has the firm address, return address, and is ready to type to the addressee. If I'm creating an envelope from an existing addressee, let's take a look at that. Umbu. I can select that addressee, highlight, and then click Envelopes and Labels. choose the firm number 10, and generate. Because I selected the addressee prior to clicking the envelope, it automatically picks up that addressee and inserts it into the envelope. Let's use that same technique of selecting inside address and generating a label from that. Labels, envelopes, and I choose a label, and in this case I'm also going to choose a customized one, Firm 5164 label with the Sparta office. I click OK, and I can see that it has generated my Avery 5164 labels with the firm name, return address, and included the addressee's information. I could at this point copy other addressee information so that I'm not wasting the labels as they come out of the printer. Speaking of wasting labels, you can see that I have a document of Avery 5164 labels on my screen, and 4 of those have addresses. But these 2 labels do not have addresses. So it's very likely that I would want to print this page and save the labels, those bottom 2 labels, for later use. So I'm going to go back to the OOMBU envelopes and labels, and I'll notice that it has detected that I'm using the Firm 5164 labels, and I can suppress the printing on any particular label. In this case, I'm going to suppress the printing on label 5 and label 6. So when I click OK, now I see that it will print on those top 4 labels, but will suppress the bottom 2. This feature is only available for 5164 labels and 6878 labels. So this is specific to certain types of labels. If your firm has multiple locations, this tool is also useful to insert those location addresses. On the last tab, Firm Addresses, I can see that there are multiple locations here, and I get a preview of what the address for that location would look like. So if this is like I want it, I simply click OK, and it inserts that address into the document. If I go back and I want to insert additional addresses, I simply go back in, click Firm Addresses, and I'll select a different address. So I select this address and I click OK. You'll notice that it has the option with entity name. So I could be clicking just the address without the organizational name. And then I click OK. Now I see that these 2 addresses are jammed right together. And I may not want that to occur if I'm putting multiple addresses. So if I look at one of the options there, I can see that it says 1 paragraph. If I change that to 2 or 3, then it's going to space below the insertion of that address. So now if I click OK, I'll see that my insertion point is further down. So if I were to be adding multiple addresses, then I can select those addresses, and click OK, and it will give that spacing between those addresses. Thank you for using OOMBU from Wordtricks. You have now completed this module. You should move to this module as your next step.